and so forth. Shu is going to present a metaphysical review revival.
Woohoo!
That's hard to say.
Yeah.
Metaphysical
Revival.
revival.
Right, toy boat.
Woohoo!
That's the best one. I think probably I'm going to be speaking mostly kind of from here. I think you can all hear me.
Perfect.
Loud and clear.
Thank you.
And so today, metaphysical review revival, right? Anybody ever been to a good Southern Baptist revival?
Yep.
It's just so fun, huh? So that's kind of the spirit we're looking for, is we're here to kind of have fun and to review upon what metaphysics is and why we use metaphysics, why we talk about metaphysics, why there has been a center for metaphysics for decades, longer than I've been on the planet. And to introduce today's topic, I wanted to kind of talk about, first of all, what heaven on earth can be. And one of the ways that I've explored this heaven on earth idea is looking at how other cultures and other religions get to heaven. Some religions, you can just do it by faith. You can say that I believe in someone or something, and that's pretty much an instant ticket in. And other religions are really based on the works, the deeds that you do while you're here alive on this earth. And so, first of all, to introduce the topic, I'm going to have my lovely daughter, Joshuah Ocean, come up, and she's going to talk about, it's up here now, she's going to talk about the judgment of Hanefar, which is an Egyptian idea of how we get to heaven. So, Joshuah, you go ahead and take it away here.
My dad, how I started to learn about ancient Egypt is in order to get iPad time. My dad said I had to learn something new every time. And this time I decided to learn about ancient Egypt. This picture is called the Judgment of Hanefar. Here you can see the Hanefar.
Here, baby, okay, let's see here. Can you talk
You
like
want to
that?
Sorry.
Gunshot.
Yeah, the handheld microphone is not turned on.
We want to hear everything you say,
There you
Zosha.
go. All right. There you go. So you can just kind of point to it.
Here is a picture. This is the Judgment of Hanefar. On the corner right over here, you see Hanefar and Anubis. Anubis is bringing Hanefar to the scale. On top of the scale, you see a god, Mot. Mot was born from darkness, and she came here to show truth. You can see Hanefar's heart on one side of the scale and a feather on the other. You can see that Anubis is weighing his heart against the feather. The feather is Mot's feather of all truth. He has to say if he's done all 42 things of good. If his heart weighs more than the feather, then the goddess Anit will eat his soul and wipe his soul away from eternity. Anit is a god that has the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hind legs of a hippo. Here you can see Thoth, which is writing down all of the things that Hanefar has done. And since Hanefar's heart weighs less than a feather, he can move on to Osiris. Here, Horus is bringing him to his father, Osiris. And you can see in front of Osiris a lotus, which means enlightenment in ancient Egypt. And you can see behind Osiris there is you can see Nephthys and Isis. And now Hanefar is officially be able to go to the afterworld.
Cool. Good
Very
job.
good.
I wonder where you get all that presenting stuff from. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, this Judgment of Hanefar. This one? Hey, Gilbert.
Of
How you
course,
doing?
put that.
I'm over here wondering, wow.
Yeah, isn't that cool? And so yeah, as she said, that's kind of the gig at the house. In order for her to use any iPad time, she has to learn something new. And I thought that Judgment of Hanefar would be a really good place to start a kid. And what we got to think about is why wait till we die, right? Why wait? Why not get to that heaven on earth now? Well, what is heaven on earth? What is heaven? Does anybody want to give an idea? What's heaven? What's heaven to you? Anybody?
It's yeah.
Freedom. Peace.
Peace, harmony, well-being, and
Joy.
time to enjoy it here on this dimension when we're a multi-dimensional being that has been around the loop so many times, and we're finally here.
There you
and
go.
We finally made it back to heaven.
And since we've done it so many times, shouldn't we like get it right now? How many more times do we got to go around and around and around till we're actually living heaven on earth? And where I find heaven on earth, I heard peace, I heard freedom. To me, if you have purpose and freedom and sustainable happiness, and of course that's, the plug for my book, is I wrote a book called Lifestyle Architecture, and that to me is heaven on earth. If I have those three things, purpose, freedom to do the purpose in, and then sustainable happiness. Not the kind of happiness that you get from, a quick rush of dopamine or serotonin when you go and buy something new.
What
I'm
about sex?
talking, huh?
What about sex?
Sex, well, that's another one. That's a quick one. And, really, it happens. And so, yes, all of these things can bring us happiness. Now, we can look at there's different happiness, like the one I talked about that you're going to get from that retail therapy, which is not sustainable, which is like a drug, right? You got to get more. And they've actually discovered that. They've discovered through years and years of studies, working with thousands of people, that yes, you can buy happiness, but you got to keep buying it, and it costs more and more every time. So why not find this other level of happiness, which is meaningfulness? Having something that comes from the inside out, not from the outside in, right? And so how do we find that space? That's the next thing, right? Now that we know what heaven is, how do we get there? Well, who likes Seinfeld?
I love Seinfeld.
Zosha and I, she's been watching Seinfeld with me. And one of the favorite episodes, let me get a little drink here, is Serenity Now. Anybody remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Serenity Now. What is serenity? Who can tell me that?
Peacefulness.
Peace, happiness, freedom.
Peacefulness, happiness. Does anybody remember the Serenity Prayer? Who knows it?
I used to-
Serenity. God grant me the serenity to
Accept the things I can't
I
change.
can and
The
have
courage-
the wisdom to know the difference.
See, there you go. So we gotta have the heart, we gotta have the compassion, we gotta have the acceptance to be able to understand that there are certain things that we can't change in life, right?
That would
There
be
are-
the wisdom.
Well, and the wisdom's going to be the thing in between, right? So we have this acceptance, which is our heart. We have courage, which kind of like comes from our gut, right? That's when people say that they've got that, that gut feeling. And when they have that, that fortitude within them, that's their gut. That's where the courage comes from. And then you have the mind, which is the wisdom to know the difference between the two. So God, give me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Okay? That to me is heaven on earth. If you got that, if you really got that. Now, it's not the kind of sense that it's like, yeah, I've read those books. I got the 4 Agreements. I read the Celestine Prophecy when it came out. I've got all the other ones, so I know this stuff. It's not about just knowing it. It's about actually doing it, right? I mean, I know people out there that, read the same 4 Agreements as me back in 1997. That's when it came out. And to this day, and I was actually just a year out of high school when that book came out. So it was really important to me. And to this day, if you read that book, then by now, which is, I'm going to my 30th high school reunion, which, for me is a lot. For other people in the room, that's old, huh? Maybe not everybody else, but for me, that's a long time. 30 years to percolate on this idea that we should not assume. We shouldn't take things personal. We should be impeccable with our word, and we should always do our best. That's something that I hear people talk about all the time. But what I saw when I was a kid is that if I live that way, I will have heaven on earth. That to me is what metaphysics is, right? And that serenity prayer helps us get there. And you know what's really cool about the serenity prayer, another way that I really like to look at it, is through the lens of the Wizard of Oz. Because as a parent, when I look at not only myself and what I need to have serenity, right? So I need to be able to recognize the difference between the things that I can change on this earth and the things that I can't change on this earth. And I want my daughter to be able to do the same thing quicker and earlier than I did. So that maybe she goes through a little less of a struggle than I did. And when I look at that serenity prayer, I see the things that I want to give to my daughter is the same things that the Wizard of Oz gave to the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man. And that's all I want my child to really know, is that I want her to have heart. I want her to have a solid brain, that wisdom to know the difference between the two. And then like that lion, I want her to have courage. And then what's the fourth thing that the wizard gave to those four people? The most important thing that I want my child to know. She did this.
Imagination.
You guys saw the Wizard of Oz, right?
It's been a long time.
It's been around for a while. There you go. What was it, Randy?
No place like home.
No place like home. If we can instill that into our kids, the vision that I see of a world out there with less codependence and more interdependence is something that we can all share. But again, this doesn't start with just the kids. This has to be cultivated within us, because one thing I know, one thing I've learned with neuroscience is these things that they call mirror neurons. How many people have heard of mirror neurons? Yeah, so monkey see, monkey do. We have places in our brain that are connected to other people doing things. What that means is that these areas in my brain that are actual motor functions will go off in my brain when I watch somebody else do an activity. Like when they had monkeys, one of them was eating an ice cream cone, and the other monkey in the little electrodes was responding as if he was also eating the ice cream. So we're connected. We have to remember that. We have to remember that if we choose a better world out there, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, right? So if we choose to have heaven on earth, we're going to really need to step up to the plates ourselves, because we're the ones creating whatever world we're in, right? That's what metaphysics is. Metaphysics is the thing that goes above physics. And that's our energy. That's what we present to the world on every day. Now, I know that we can live heaven on earth, or at least I feel like we can, because that's where I'm at, and it's in the Bible, right? I mean, like in Luke, I can't remember the exact chapter and verse, but it talks about heaven is not there, heaven is not there, heaven is within, right?
1721.
Thank you.
Luke.
How about the one in Luke, which is, I know it's in chapter 18, and I can't remember the verse, but it's the one that talks about how surely the only way you're going to get to heaven is with the eyes of a child in that state of wonder. What do you think about that?
It's true.
It's true. I see it every day. I get this beautiful blessing of this, wonderful 9-year-old lady who's growing up in this crazy, crazy world. And she has far more senses than most of the adults that I work with. That's why I love working with kids. And I've gotten the joy of working with half of my clientele right now are all kids from the ages of, we'll say, 25 down to 5 years old right now. And I've got about close to 10 of them that I'm working with on an every week basis. And I get to see that really all this is a matter of is reconditioning. That's it. Anything that you're missing, all that you need to do is to use your roadside service. And we have it. Isn't that amazing? Now, we have roadside service for our car, and this is when we get a flat tire, right? This is when the battery goes dead. This is when something goes haywire in the car, and we need to call somebody to be able to help us figure out what it is. Now, it's not Good Sam. What's another roadside service that's been around forever? Huh?
AAA.
Then, yeah, you got it, AAA. So we need AAA for our own roadside service for our spirit. How about that? Okay. Now our AAA, instead of it being, and I don't even know what they stand for, is it like All American?
Automobile Association.
There you go,
American
American Automobile
Automobile
Association.
Association.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. I never really knew that. What we're looking at for our roadside spiritual service is three things that all start with the letter A. We need awareness, we need attention, and we need accountability. That's it. That's what your roadside service is. Your awareness is going to be like the little dot, the little thing they can plug into the car and tell you what's going on, right? And then you have other diagnostic tools. That's your accountability. Accountability is not something that we say we're accountable for. That's not something that we necessarily verbalize in truth. In truth, whatever life you're living right now is your accountability. That's what you're accountable for. And that lets you know what you need to work on inside yourself. Not that you need to go get a new job or a new car or you need to move somewhere. Because what was that? Wherever you go, there you are, right? And have you ever heard somebody talk about, oh, well, I'll get to that later, right? Well, later is now. Like, this is where we're at right now. We have everything that we need on planet Earth to cultivate this expression of heaven on earth. And what's happening is that we're not using our roadside service appropriately. So let's break it down a little bit more. First of all, our awareness. What are you aware of? Well, first of all, we can see that they're kind of concentric rings, right? The least of what you should be worried about or concerned about, oh, thank you so much. The least of what you should be focused on is the things that are way, way, way outside of you that you can't do much about directly. That would be like all of the wars that are going on right now. If you're using your energy to be concerned about those kind of things in a way that it's actually sucking your energy for you, if you're not gaining anything from it, then you're wasting your energy. And this is why we get tired. This is why we get short with one another. It's because we don't have enough energy. And that's one of the first things that we need to be aware of, is where our energy is and where we're putting it. Are we putting it into ourself, into our own purpose? Is that where our energy is at? That's going to pay dividends. Or is your energy mostly going out to, the people in your neighborhood, are you keeping up with the Joneses? Where's your energy going? Be aware of that. And then the next thing that we can look at, next to our awareness, is how accountable are you? Really? Okay, so what things can we be accountable? Well, let's look at our mind, body, and spirit, right? Are you waking up feeling relatively pain-free? Are you getting a full night's sleep? Do you have interpersonal relationship difficulties? Do you get sick a lot? These are the kind of things that we need to start being accountable for. If you aren't accountable to yourself, it's really obvious to the rest of the world. And this is what we have to be aware of. We can't just say that we're doing these things anymore. They have to become a part of our breathing in and our breathing out. So accountability is something that's so easy for us if we just take a really good look at the man in the mirror, right? We don't need to look to the world estate to look at what we need to be accountable for. We need to be accountable for ourselves alone. That's what the whole judgment of Nefar is about, is that when you die, it's not anybody else in here in this room, it's not their heart that's going to be weighed, it's your heart that's going to be weighed. So why not live in that higher frequency right now? And through accountability, through awareness, those are the things that are kind of the bookends that give you your diagnostic on what you need to do. Your accountability, setting everything up for you in your absolute truth, not your virtual reality, not the one that says everything is fine. I'm fine, right? We all know what that anagram's to, right? Since we got a 9-year-old, we don't have to say it, but we all know what fine means, right? And if you don't, see me afterwards and I'll give you that anagram there. When we say we're fine, what does that really mean? Nothing. And so, awareness, accountability, but right in the middle there, and what's really fun is for years I kind of missed the attention part. And it wasn't until coming up with this talk that I was like, oh, there it is, it's AAA, it's perfect. I like it when things work out like that. Before it was just AA, and I don't want anybody going there. So with the AAA, we got our accountability, our awareness, and right in the middle is where you need to direct yourself. That's your GPS. That's going to be where you are steering, is your attention. And they all feed into each other, right? You become aware of something. Oh, I'm tired all the time. I get sick all the time. Well, then you need to actually be accountable for yourself. Why do I get tired and sick all the time? I waste my energy. You can waste your energy just like you waste money, just like you waste time. These are our three vital resources. And I see people wasting them all the time by getting in each other's business. Stay to your own tasks. And if you don't know what that means, come see me. One of the biggest ways that we waste our energy, our time, and our money is getting in other people's way. And if we're not getting in other people's way, whose way are we getting in? Usually our own, right, Marie? We get in our own way. And that's, again, what feeds back into that accountability, right? Well, I was actually here at 2:20. She can prove it. I was running late because I had to go back and get my teeth, which is not a normal thing for people to do, but I have what's called hypodontia. Most of you guys know that I'm missing teeth. I forgot my teeth. And we're sitting here and I'm like, oh my God. So, I did forget my teeth because I was so excited, but I will tell you that being in alignment, okay, I left here at like 2:40, I think. We live way over on Colonial Manor. You got to be in a certain kind of alignment to fold time and space like I did. Not only that, but you have to be in alignment for a smooth ride. The first car I ever had was a 1977 Subaru. I called it the Flintstone Mobile. Because remember on the Flintstones how they had to run their feet through the bottom of the car? Well, mine was so rusted that there was that bottom panel that was open. We had to pull out a heater from the house with an extension cord and just hope that we didn't blow the thing up every morning. That car was very misaligned. And I have no idea how I made it to school every day, and sometimes with the weather like this, I'd have to scrape both sides of the window out because it was so iced on both sides. But I made it.
I know that feeling.
Have any of you ever driven in like a Rolls Royce, like a Phantom, or like a really, really high-end car, like really, really high-end? It's like butter, right? It feels so good. I mean, what does it feel? You don't feel anything. It feels so beautiful. It's like the ride of your life, right? That's what heaven on earth is. That's what heaven on earth feels like. When you are in alignment, everything feels great. You don't get angry with people. You know why? Because it's not there. Anger doesn't come from the outside. Anger doesn't come from people messing up, your dry cleaning. Anger and sadness and depression, these don't come from the outside. The outside does what it does. It's neutral. It's what you have going on inside that you need to be accountable for. And until you are living heaven on earth, you need to keep readdressing three things: your mindset, your manners, which is your code of ethics, how do you treat yourself and others, and your movement. Do you move too fast? Do you not move enough? What are your habits? That's what you need to look at. Once you are in that state of accountability, that's all you look at. That's the formula. M plus M plus M equals L, which is your lifestyle. If you want a great lifestyle, then you have to be accountable for those three M's: mindset, manners, and movements. Okay? That's what you have to be accountable for. So you have to be aware of. And when you don't like something in your life, the attention needs to be pulled directly towards you. If you have zero interpersonal relationship issues, that means either you have no friends or you are in alignment with yourself. If you have issues with other people, please understand, it's you that has the issue. It's not with the other person. You're all one, right? Isn't that a part of metaphysics? We're all one. So how can there be that other? When you find anger, when you find dissatisfaction, when you find that something isn't working right in your life, it has nothing to do with the other people. As a matter of fact, you can take my philosophy. The only reason that anybody in this room is in existence is only for me. That's it. Now, Laurel, the only reason I exist is for you. That's it. And when you know that the only reason that every other human being exists on this planet is only for you, you become a gardener.
Yes.
You make sure that everything that you like in that garden is well taken care of. You water it. You make sure that you pull your weeds out. Your weeds are not only going to be, people, possibly. I mean, for me, if you're too much drama and if you're too toxic, it's just kind of like that show Survivor, you're off the island. I have no time for that. Sure, we're all one, but I also would I cut my nails and I cut my hair and I get rid of things that don't serve me. The reason I do that is so that I can serve others. I can't do that as well if I'm tired, exhausted, if I have my own problems. And so, really get close to yourself. Renew a commitment with yourself is that if you find that there's any area of your life that you don't like, don't look at it as being something outside of you. It is you. You are the one that has some problem. Otherwise, there would be nothing for you to reflect to. That doesn't mean that I never have any problems in my life. When I do, I go inside. Gilbert?
Those neuron things are those
Mirror neurons.
mirror neurons.
Yeah.
I really like the way you settled it down to that personal reflection through those mirror neurons is metaphysical. Is metaphysical goal.
It is. It is. I have really great treatment from all the people that are around me. My daughter's mother and I did not start off great when we broke it off. As a matter of fact, it was one of the most traumatic times in my life. Instead of trying to get her mom to do or be something different, I worked on myself. And I just made sure I didn't screw anything up. And time heals. And now her mother and I are the absolute poster boards for split families. Everybody sees it in the school, and it's a really beautiful thing because it's like a glow, right? That's what light does.
Co-creation.
Co-creators. And we feel it and we see it. We've used our roadside service enough to bring us to the next level of being real with ourselves and then getting real with yourselves. You know what that is? Shadow work, right? I love shadow work. You guys know shadow work, right?
Being responsible for your identifications, what you identify as being.
Yes.
Your personas.
Yeah.
And let's talk about awakenings, right? Since we're talking about shadow work, that's kind of, I don't like how woke has kind of been taken into this thing. It's kind of been twisted. To me, I just remember woke. What I thought woke was kind of like, Buddha, the awakening, right? And Joshuah just got done finished reading Siddhartha. Has anybody read that? So Siddhartha is all about Buddha's Eightfold Path and how he lived in these different ways, these different personas, and what happened upon his awakening. This is my own idea. Is I think that all awakening is a death of an old persona. You keep stripping away, and stripping away. Shadow work is so juicy because it lets you go into your weeds in your garden. I also like to call them cobwebs, Sometimes we have cobwebs in our house. They just kind of hold energy in a feng shui manner. And we need to clean those up. Those can't be held on there anymore. Those are like the relationships that you are just kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Do something about it. That's going to be the things in life that you're like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Do them or don't, but get them off of your cobwebs, man. Either make it a part of your life or just get rid of them. I just took another certification, and this one was called dialectical behavioral therapy. It's because I've been doing some work with people that have borderline personality disorder, and this was a technique that was created from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's specifically used for borderline personality disorder. I just finished the course, and it's just a serenity prayer. That's it. That's it. That's all DBT really is that there are certain things that you can change them. Get that courage. Most people don't have courage. Be accountable for that. If you can't change something in your life, we already have the awareness. Otherwise, you wouldn't be thinking about it, right? So it's not a matter of having the awareness that you need to change something. The accountability part, that again is the courage. If you have courage, and please hold on to that word. And remember that the Wizard of Oz, all that the Wizard of Oz did for each one of the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, he says, hey, Scarecrow, you've been doing all this smart stuff with Dorothy. Here's a diploma. Tin Man, you've been doing things with heart. Here's a clock. Now you got something that ticks. And for the Lion, it was just, hey, this whole trip you've been really courageous. You just needed a medal to show you that you were courageous. So let me lend this to you. You all already have all three. You've already done things that have been courageous. You've already done things that have shown your wisdom. You've already done things that have shown heart, because when you can't change something, you've got to change your heart about it. You've got to soften it in a way. You got to kind of find that Christ consciousness, whatever else you can pull upon, to recognize what that heart-centered means and be accountable with it. And so once you have real awareness and attention and accountability, well, the sky's the limit. That's when manifestation really flows through you. You see, the shadow work has all got a point to it too. This metaphysics all has a point to it too. I know there's got to be some. I'm fishing for some kind of a fill, kind of a. Did you have one?
So I was just thinking
I could feel one was coming.
that if you added imagination, initiative, and intent, then you would have 3 I ams. And that would take you to heaven.
I
That was
love it.
good.
I love it. I love it. See, look at that beautiful co-creator right there. It's that-
Three
that's
A's
great.
to the 3 M's to the 3 I's.
Yeah. I love
Very
it.
good, very good.
And you know what I love about imagine.
The whole
I like twisting words a little bit. Imagine can also kind of be twisted into I'm a genie. That's really what it is. What we say, what we do, that's fulfilling our wishes. That's rubbing our own little genie's lamp, is the imagination and the intention. Yeah. And so then that brings us all to enlightenment, right? That's why I'm here. That's what I'm in this for. To me, living heaven on earth is enlightenment. Enlightenment is living heaven on earth. And I find this space not outside. I find this space inside, and it goes with me wherever I go. So that means that under all circumstances, I can be living in relative heaven. Now, if I've got a bomb going off, I'm going to handle that. But most of our lives, there's not bombs going off. But people have conditioned their amygdalas, the smoke center up in the brain. As a matter of fact, not only have they affected their amygdala, but there's lots of other places in their brain that they've actually created construction sites in their brain. And their brain works in a particular way, and it's based upon all of the things that we've given it to do. All of the experiences that we have agreed to, right? When somebody calls us stupid, the only way that that can affect us at all is if we believe it at all. If you have a mindset that is lock solid, and if you're already living on heaven on earth, man, you don't shift that. You don't get angry. You don't get upset at things. You don't have problems. Instead of problems, you have opportunities. Do you see that? How we can all have that. You can really, literally, now, Neuroscience has never been able to figure out how a thought comes into our brain. Okay? We don't know that. They might be able to figure it out at some point in time.
Those neural things.
Those neural things, yes.
They figured it out.
Okay, what is it?
It's an electromagnetic wave, and they can actually hook you up to a well. About 10 years ago, they could hook you up to a computer and put a thought in your mind, ask you to explain it, and by the time you finished, you would think it was your original thought.
Sure, like the Matrix, like I know judo. But then the question still rides. So there's the mechanics behind it, right? And I can understand that. That makes some good sense to me. Now, how does our brain? Now we're influenced. We're influenced by everything we see, everything we watch, everything we hear. We're influenced. But as a thought comes into your head, we know how it happens mechanically, but how does a thought get chosen to be put in your head? As far as I know, what do you got?
Are you familiar with the 100 monkeys?
Oh yeah, definitely. So what he's talking about with 100 monkey is that they had studied these macaque monkeys. And over a period of time, there was one little monkey, and the story changes depending on, who you hear it from, but they were washing a potato, and then they ate the potato, and then all the other ones were doing it, and then they come back after years later, and they're actually recognizing that monkeys on other islands were also doing the same thing, remote, and could have had no connection to them at all. So it was a threshold. And that once that threshold was hit, now it's just a part of the monkey being. Yes?
That's what's happened in my life with this celestial phenomena that's gone through, impacted the sun, and now the sun is impacting us like it has for millions of years.
So
And
again,
we're
it
getting
influences
light from
us.
the sun right through our neuro.
Our mirror neurons, our
mirror
pineal
neurons,
gland.
because we're mirroring it.
Yes.
We're mirroring the sun.
But now why is it then some people have thoughts that are very, very negative? And other people have thought. Now me, I get negative thoughts. As a matter of fact, I've actually, and I suggest you guys do this too, I have dealt with my personas and my shadow side so well, I actually gave my shadow side a name. Serious. So when I was in French class, they called me Jean-Luc. And that's when I was exploring, that's when I first started to explore this stuff, about 13, 14. And my shadow side name, get ready for this one, you know it. What is it?
Luke Ledouche.
Luke Ledouche. You like that? So when a thought comes into my head that is not helpful and kind and true, I'm like, all right, Luke Ledouche, you need to be quiet back there.
Or simply take command and say, perish the thought.
Excellent. Yes.
Just say,
now,
take command and perish the thought.
that's exactly what you do.
And
That's
here I
what you
thought
do.
were going to wash it away.
Now, let's see if you got it. Because again, I know the 100th monkey, but that still does not give us the answer as to how, because I have thoughts. Now, I'm a pretty spiritually, frequency high kind of thinking guy. And at the same time, I'll have thoughts that'll pop into my head. And I'm like, where in the heck did that come from? That's rich. That's interesting. That's juicy. Where did that come from? And yes, as soon as the thought comes in, we have sovereign option over where that thought goes. That's the most important part. Now, I don't want to skip over it. Do we know how a particular thought comes into our brain other than what you've shared? Like, how does one of those thoughts pop into my head randomly out of nowhere?
It's obviously a thought from something else, and you just have lowered your frequency enough to dial into it that allows it to come in.
So that again kind of shows the mechanics behind it, but why that thought? And again, I know maybe I was influenced.
Because it was out there and you received it.
And why did I receive that instead of other ones?
Because that's what you were tuned to.
In your DNA.
Somewhere.
Our Father knows it way ahead of time. Just decided to set it up.
4 C's.
Okay, so we got possibilities that it's divine inspiration, possibilities that it was just what we were influenced to. The bottom line is no matter where the thought comes from, this is the important part that you need to know. No matter where that thought comes from, whether it's a divine inspiration, whether it's just that we were watching too much YouTube or, you know, whatever else the case may be. Wherever we got that thought, you have 100% option on where that thought goes. That's the accountability part. And for the most part, we don't need to add. You know, let's look at the word enlightenment, right? I like it in two flavors. I like enlightenment because what it does is it shines a light on something. Kind of like as we're exploring now. We're shining a light. We're gaining some clarity as to where these thoughts are, where they come from, how we get them, you know? So we're shining a light, but not only on the truth outside, but the truth inside, right? So as we enlighten ourselves to that, we're also looking at the other use of the word, and that's to be less heavy, right? And so this process of moving through getting our heart as light as a feather, all goes back into this idea that that's what we're looking to do. Getting our heart as light as a feather by moving our thoughts into a place that raises our frequency. Like, you know, like Gilbert said, you know, just, what were your words again? Just
Perish the thought.
perish the thought. Perish the thought. And that's it. That's why I'm like, all right, Luke LaDouche, you be quiet back there. Because that's it. You just perish the thought. And if you can't do it, that's because you're obstinate, lazy, or you haven't had enough practice. That's it. So quit trying things, okay? Just stop trying. Really, I'm serious. Don't ever try anything ever again in your life. Please, for the love of God.
Right.
Don't try. I hate that word.
I gotta say, I really like your A, B, C's, and M's. If you went through every letter in the alphabet,
Yeah, right.
made children understand what you're talking about, the three ABCs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that you know, there's already a beautiful social emotional curriculum available, and it's called Mindful M3, and that stands for Mindset, Manners, and Movement. Yeah, so that's available for kids, and I wrote it for grades 3 to 5, and so yeah, it's you know, that's what we need to do. But guess what? All of this stuff that I'm teaching the kids, us adults can use it also, and we need to pull away from the thing. You know that the blocks used to be really, I mean, you still find blocks that are heavy, but the whole reason that they made the cinder block and other blocks with holes in them is because not only did they find that they weighed less, they actually found that structurally they were actually stronger and weighed less. And that's divine. You know why? Because all of your bones echo that. Every one of the bones in your body. I mean, that's how the Eiffel Tower was designed, was by Gustav Eiffel. That was the guy that made the Eiffel Tower. He looked at the bones, and he said, structurally, the bones are hollow. How is it that they can be so strong, but yet they're all holed up? So that's what it is there's this usefulness in what's not there, okay? There's usefulness in the things that we get rid of, that we go away from, that we ascend, that we transcend ourselves from. So think about enlightenment in those two ways. How can you use your roadside spiritual service of awareness, attention, and accountability to bring more clarity into your life and at the same time get rid of everything that doesn't serve you anymore? You're going to be stronger, more powerful. You'll have more energy. Be able to hang out with me and have heaven on earth if you're not already there. And so thank you very much for letting me share that with you guys. I appreciate it. If there's anybody that wants to share some thoughts or comments or anything,
Thanks for
questions?
reminding us.
Yeah, well, that's what it's about. It's a review revival, right? We're supposed to be reviewing and reviving these ideas, you know? So stop yourselves. If you get
what's
angry,
the third R?
Huh?
What's the third R?
The third R?
Arithmetic.
The metaphysical review, what do you mean?
Right on.
Well, everything else you give us 3 exampents.
Yeah, I know.
Now you just give us 2 R's and expect us to take that?
Right now.
I'll work
Need
on it.
another.
I'll work on it.
Responsibility and the ability.
Reciprocally.
Feels incomplete.
Reciprocally. Yeah, there's complete. Reciprocally.
I've never heard that
Perfect.
word.
Reciprocal?
I heard that, but not the way you said it.
Reciprocally?
Yeah, that.
It's the way of being reciprocal.
Awesome.
Or I just made up a word,
Exactly.
which is
Why not?
totally fine too.
Well, review, revive, and roar.
Roar, there you go.
Yes,
Like
yes,
lions.
yes.
You know, I actually thought that's kind of cool. I haven't studied Nietzsche a lot, but on YouTube one time, or TikTok, I saw a little feed, and you know what Nietzsche believes, the progression of a man or woman into spiritual maturity starts off as a camel, then moves into a lion, and then ends up as a child, which I think is cool, which again kind of fits with that eyes of wonder, you know. It's one of the reasons I'm in heaven all the time, is because I see things not as being a problem, but I'm like, well, how do I play with this? What is this that I can unpack, you know? How can I, you know, we're in the sandbox right now together. We're playing. Some people think that this life is all about a test. I don't know. But it certainly is an area for us to get to play with each other. Let's not forget that. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, in the
Yeah.
hallelujah. Thank you.
So it kind of sounded like you said the pathway to heaven on earth is killing the persona, the death of the persona. And
I wouldn't say that.
maybe I misunderstood what you said. So
Yeah.
can you say more about that, I guess?
Yeah. So finding out heaven on earth is the serenity thing, you know, again, having the wisdom and the courage and the ability to let things go, you know, that's the allowance, the acceptance. So to me, heaven on earth is really living that, you know, and having all those in accord, your mind, body, and spirit. Now, some people will find that, you know, I mean, to me, I think that like death of personas, that to me is like a little side quest. You know, I think that people can kind of get it without it, honestly. I don't think that you even need to have a big awakening. You know, as I mentioned, for me, an awakening is just a death of a persona. And some people, they go through this big funeral procession, and it's like all this big, huge thing when something dies, and other people handle it in a different way. To me, I handle it in that different way. I'm just like, that old one's dead.
Yeah, I feel like you just said it again. That awakening is the death of a persona.
Oh yes, that I think so. Yeah.
But so that's not the path to heaven on earth necessarily.
No,
awakening is something different.
I don't think, and that's my own kind of, you know.
Yeah.
I think that happens, and again, I think I think people make a bigger deal out of it than it is. You know, we awaken to all kinds of new ideas. What I love to see is the people that are like, I'm awoken, here I am. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, and tomorrow you're gonna eat, and then you gotta wash your bowl. You know, it's or like the one Chinese, you know, proverb, you know, to where this one guy gets all enlightened and the other ones are, you know, going around saying, how's it feel to be enlightenment? And he says, oh, as miserable as ever. It's not that you don't feel things. It's not that you like go to this imaginary place or anything. It's just that everything is easier and you don't experience those negative emotions. You don't experience the negative triggers because you've conditioned them out. Again, it's not like, remember, it's in you. So if you're having those experiences, you just need to go play with enough other people until you figure it out. And so to me, heaven on earth is getting into that space of alignment. You know, and again, alignment's not something I say I'm in alignment. It's kind of like, yeah, you can see it, you know. There's no relationship issues. There's no health issues. You know, there's purpose, freedom, sustainable happiness.
And so I've been plagued with this. There's greener grass on the other side of the hill my whole life, right?
Okay.
And I found that in this persona that you're talking about, that persona is multidimensional and has had many lifetimes. And so when I think that I've come to I finally come home to my own at home, all my homes from every time and every space come back to visit me.
Yeah.
And another persona. It's just another persona.
And get to play with it then.
And I either identify with it or not.
Why not, you know,
on its way and make room for the light of the Christ mind, yada, 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 to come back home.
Yeah.
I can be at home without dying. Like, you know, life everlasting, you know, heaven on earth, life everlasting, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and again, you know, it's like I have no idea what's going to happen to me after. But you know, what I do know is that I've got a lot of friends that are all working so diligently on getting to heaven. I'm here. It's like, I don't know what else you would want, you know? It's like, if I were to die tomorrow, I would be like, wait a minute, I want to go back. I really, really love this life. I really enjoy being here. I want so much more of it. It's like, I don't want to die at all because I'm already on heaven. And you know, in regards to like, you know, other lives and things like that, I always enjoy that idea in reincarnation, because, you know, it's like either we're reincarnated and we're all these individual independent souls, or we're all one. And I have a difficulty kind of like, you know, I go with this, we're all one. So it's like, if you felt like you were Napoleon, you're just, again, picking up that frequency of Napoleon at that moment. Because we've all been Napoleon. We've all been Marie Antoinette, you know?
Exactly.
And we can pull upon those also, you know? We can kind of, we can imbue ourselves with, you know, like this stage of my life, I call it the Mr. Rogers phase. You know, because like my Prince rock star phase in my 20s and 30s, it's a completely different persona than who I am now. And that's all by choice.
But you still co-created there, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
And again, it's the only thing that's different is that I'm aware and attentive and accountable for what I create. And that's, again, what allows me to have heaven on earth. So yeah, I think, you know, I think personas can die and, you know, I think we can have awakenings, but I don't think the awakenings are the real thing that gets us to heaven on earth. I think it's just our awareness, attention, and accountability, our mindset, manners, and movements, and our intention, integrity. What was the other one? Imagination. Awesome. I love it. I am. It's great. That's what's fun about co-creating. I mean, I am is like such an potent statement.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always know that when I'm around Phil, you know, I'll be able to find something like that, you know, and I wait for it at this moment. And that's the cool part about being in a community is recognizing people for who they are and celebrating it. That's the cool part. And when you can do that freely, then that also lets you know that, like, you know, I think another thing that we can explore is this idea of our ego dying or something like that. You can believe whatever you choose to, okay? Really you can. It doesn't matter, okay? But what does matter is going to be, again, your results, okay? And so if you do I don't want to go into any particular direction, but that's really where it's all at, you know? There's something you don't like in your life, that's a part of you. So go back to that. Yeah. Rebirth, revival, recommit, you know? We're in sacred contracts with each other, right? So it doesn't mean a contract needs to always be the same. You know, you can get new contracts. That's another great part about awareness and accountability, is if you don't like an old contract, become aware of it, be accountable for the place you have in it, and then pay attention on what it is that you choose to do. Do you choose to be, you know, correct? Do you choose to be at peace? Do you choose to co-create? Do you choose to disconnect? It's your choice. You get to pick whatever you want. Me, the beliefs that I have are all of the same beliefs that bring me to a happy heaven on earth. That's the trick. Is that if I don't really like something I see, I always have the option of changing the way I see it, my mindset. And that's the biggest deal with most people, is they got to change their mindset. It's so powerful.
Welcome to 2026.
Amen, amen. There we go, 2026. Unbelievable, huh? Yeah, it's not just going to be a thank you. Don't you do a great job?
Yeah.
All right, just from